Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at free video upscaling 2.0. The big difference is this runs on any graphic card that supports Vulkan, and it's totally GUI. Now, if you remember a while back, I actually did a video on this software right here, which is the Waifu 2X GUI. It's great and everything, however, this GUI only runs under Windows, and it requires graphics cards that a lot of people don't have. So I did another series that also just used Vulkan, but it was all command line. You had to go to a DOS prompt or a command shell and type in these commands. Of course, I gave you all the commands and everything, but I realized that command line stuff is just not for everybody. So today we have a new process here that's going to use totally easy to use GUI-based programs. In other words, just your normal Windows sort of programs like this. So let's get started. The very first one we're going to take a look at here is Upscayl. Now, Upscayl is free and open source, as I always like. It runs on Mac, Linux, Windows. So again, this is totally cross-platform. And again, it uses Vulkan-based scalers. So as long as your video card supports Vulkan, it's likely to work. So what you would do is, I'm on Windows here today, so I just click on that. It's going to pop up for me to download. I've already downloaded it, so I'm just going to hit cancel on that. And that's going to be our first piece of software. Now, the second piece of software that we're going to use is in order to take a video and make it into individual pictures, and then take those individual pictures and put it back into video. And the reason why we need to do that is because Upscayl only upscales individual photos. So we need something that's going to break our low-res video down into individual pictures, and then we're going to upscale it with Upscayl, and then we're going to bring it back in and create a video out of it, out of the upscaled pictures that it has created. So that's going to be our next part of this process here. So we're going to use Shotcut, which is a super easy to use, free open source cross-platform. Yet again, we have downloads here. We have Windows, even runs under Windows 7. There's also, we got installers for, of course, Mac and Linux, stuff like that. So we got all the different installers we're going to need to do. And also, too, it even runs in portable mode. If you don't want to install it, you can literally just run it out of a directory in portable mode. But I'm going to go ahead and install it today. So again, you would just click on this, it's going to pop up, you download it to install it. I've already downloaded it right here, and so it's going to hit cancel on that. And let's go ahead and go to our downloads directory and get this stuff installed. So we'll go ahead and we'll install Shotcut first of all. Just double click on it. It's just got a very simple preamble here. Again, free, open source, there's no spyware, anything like that. It is just a nice open source project. It's a really great basic video editor. Now you can't do the fancy stuff typically in Shotcut, but we don't need fancy today. All we're going to be doing is exporting out a low-res video as images, and then we're going to be importing high-res images in and making a video back out of it again. The only option I'm going to change here is create desktop shortcut, just for convenience here, so I'll have an icon on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and hit install. And it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'll come back just as soon as this is done. Okay, Shotcut's all installed. We have our icon on our desktop right over here. So I'm just going to hit close on that. And then we're just going to run the installer for Upscayl. It's very simple. We'll accept all the defaults. And this just takes just a second to install. Alrighty, it's all done. Now I'm going to go ahead and say not to run Upscayl right now. Saying we're just going to hit finish. And so now we have all of our software installed, and we have icons on our desktop right over here. So I've created a new folder over here on my desktop, and again, you can create this folder really anywhere you want to. I just put it on the desktop so it's easy to get to. And I've thrown in a couple of videos in here. Now these are both really low-res videos. In fact, here's our first video right here. It's some people walking out of the Royal Opera House. Okay. And if we look at our properties on that, I'm going to right click and go to properties and go to details. It's 640 by 360. So it's pretty low res. And then we have this really old cartoon here. Skeleton Frolic. Skip this a little bit. And it is even lower resolution. It is 322 by 240. All right, so we're going to be upscaling both of these videos today. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to, remember, we're going to take Shotcut, we're going to bring these videos in, and then we're going to create a series of individual still pictures of each of the frames, and then we're going to upscale it, and then we're going to bring it back into Shotcut again. So what we need is a few directories to kind of work with here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this our frames, and this is going to be the low-res frames that we're going to export out of our videos. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to call this scaled. And that's going to be our scaled up frames that we're going to have Upscaler create for us. All right, now that we have all the folders created, we need to extract our frames. Let's go ahead and get started on upscaling our video. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Shotcut. And this is going to create a new project. Now what we need to do is we need to enter a name, and it really doesn't matter what it is because we're not even going to save this. I'm just going to hit test 7 here. And however, in the video mode, this is really important, you need to change this to automatic. Okay, so it must change that to automatic. So it doesn't really matter what you call it up here, that must be changed to automatic. And then you just hit start. Okay, so now it doesn't look like anything's happened because we don't have any videos in here. So I'm going to come over here to my video directory. We're going to pick video 1. I'm going to drag it down here to the timeline area in this lower section. It's going to let go. So it's going to take just a second to process, and boom, now our video is in Shotcut. In fact, we can even play it here. So that's our low-res video. Now we want to take a look here, though, under properties. And by the way, these are tabs, so for some reason it's not on properties. Just go to properties and make sure you look at the frame rate. Its frame rate of this video is 25, and we're going to need that information whenever we put our pictures back together as a video. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to open up Notepad, and I'm just going to put in 25 so I won't forget. And we're just going to minimize that. Okay, now we're all ready to export out this video as individual frames, and it's super easy. Just come over here to export, and it has all these presets. Now, by the way, if these presets are not expanded, you can just click on these little arrows here and expand them out. And the one we're looking for, though, is near the bottom, and it is stills. And you can pick whatever format you want on the pictures. However, I'm going to pick PNG because I know that's lossless, basically. And then we just hit export file. Now here's going to pop up and say, hey, where do you want to store all of these frames from this video? And of course you just maneuver into the place that you want to put these frames into. Now it's already, I'd selected it earlier, so it's already under desktop video scaling in frames, but again, you can just maneuver to whatever directory you need right there. Now down here under the name, I'm just going to put in the word frame, and it's automatically going to fill in a dash and then a number afterwards, which is going to be the number of the frame of the video. So we don't have to do anything about that. We just put in a simple name like frame, and we're just going to hit save. And of course you could call that whatever you want. Now here's processing. It's exporting out all of those frames. And now it's all done. Notice it turned into a little green checkbox right there. And we are done with this step of the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close down Shotcut. This is actually very important because if you don't close Shotcut, it'll actually take resources in the background. It'll make your video scaling part much slower. So now over here in our video scaling directory, we have frames, and look at all these different frames that's exported. Again, it has the name that I put in there and a dash and then a number. And if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's 310 frames in this little short video segment. Also, too, it shows down here there's 310 items right there. And if we right-click on any one of these and go to Properties and Details, notice it's 640 by 360, that low-res video, basically. And so we're just going to close that. So we are all done exporting out our frames. So let's come out here, and now we're going to upscale all of these frames. And that's super simple using Upscayl. There we go. Now this is Upscayl, and it's a super simple program. Basically, it always does a 4x upscale. There are some experimental features to do 2x and 3x and stuff like that, but by default it does 4x, and we are just keeping this as simple as possible, so we are just going to roll with that. One thing you do need to change on here, though, if it's not set, is you want batch upscale. This needs to be highlighted over here, because if you don't have that turned on, this is only going to do one picture at a time, and that's not going to work for us. We want batch upscale. And then all we're going to do is select the folder where our pictures are at. And so I'm going to hit Folder and Video Scaling, and I'm going to go to Frames. Remember, that's our low-res frames are all in there. And then you pick the type of scaling that you want to do. And there's all these different models out there. Now, these first few here are all for like real life or 3D photos. The very bottom one is for cartoon or animation style art. So we definitely want one of these top ones here for our video, since this is like real life. And the one I'm going to pick is Fast Real ESR GAN here. The other ones do, quite frankly, slightly better job, but they are much slower. So I'm going to pick the fast one for today. Then we're going to select our output folder. So I'm going to pick this, and we are going to pick the scaled directory that I created, because we need a place to put our scaled photos. So let's hit select folder. Then you just simply click Upscayl. And it's going to start processing here in just a minute, and it's processing each and every one of those photos. And in fact, if we wanted to, we'd come over here, and remember we already looked at frames, but let's see what's going on in scaled. Oh, like these pictures are like being created here. In fact, we scroll down here real quick. See if it'll let us there. It's actually creating all of these new images as we speak here. It's got 84 done right now, and now it's 120 done, and so on and so forth. So it's just going to keep chugging through them until all 300 and some odd are done. So we'll just kind of let that go and just let it process. Now, AI video upscaling just takes time, especially depending on your hardware. So you just have to be patient and wait for this to complete. So I'll be back as soon as this is done. Okay, it's actually all done. That really only took about 1 or 2 minutes, so this one's really quick. But again, this is a short video. So if we take a look at our folders now, and we go into Scaled, we have 310 items. Remember, just like we had in the frames directory. However, these are upscaled. And if we go into Properties and Details, notice that, wow, now they're 2,560 by 1440. Wow, so it's really upscaled those a lot. And what we want to do too is we want to take a look, and we want to note down the size of our video dimensions now, since it did a 4x upscale. So I'm going to come over here, and right below 25, which is our frame rate, I'm going to put in 2560 by 1440. Okay, so now we have all the information that we need. So let's go back into Shotcut and go ahead and create our video. Let's close down Upscayl for now. We don't need that. So now let's just open up Shotcut for the next step. Now here we go. This is going to be our actual project here. So I'm going to call this Video 1 Upscaled. And we need to change our video mode, though, not from automatic anymore. We want to set it something very specific. And I'm going to go down here to Custom, and I'm going to click Add. Now, we're not going to give it a name because every project is likely to be different. So we are just going to fill out this little box right here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in the information that we had in our little notepad. So here is our video scaling. So I'm just going to copy and paste that in. And of course, you could just type these in too if you'd like. There we go. And of course, double check your frame rate. This happens to be set to 25, which is perfect. So we'll just leave that like that. Otherwise, I'd change it. And I'm going to hit OK. And now we're just going to hit start. Now, it doesn't look like anything happened. That's because we haven't imported our pictures yet. So the way you do that is you go to Open File, and you find the directory where your scaled pictures are at. So we'll select that, and you just select the very first one. You don't have to select all of them or anything like that. Just find the first one, 0001, pick that one, and hit Open. Now, it only brings in the first frame by default, but under Properties here, this Property tab, if you click Image Sequence, it'll bring in all the rest. And notice it says Loading Image Sequence down here, so kind of wait till it gets done. There we go. And now our video has been brought in as a whole series of images. And now what we want to do is we want to drag this to the timeline. So I'm just going to hold down my left mouse button, and I'm going to drag it down here to this bottom area and just let go. It's going to take just a second to process, but now we have our new timeline entry down here, and here is our upscaled video. In fact, if we click on this down here and we go to Properties, we'll see that the resolution is 22,560 by 1440. So it's our upscaled images. However, we don't have any sound in our video. And that's because, of course, we only did the pictures. We haven't done the sound yet. So the way we're going to get the sound back is we are going to add a new line here to our timeline. So I'm going to select over here in our timeline area. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Track Operations, and I'm going to add an audio track, which is also Control U, by the way. And now we have our audio track down here. Make sure you highlight the audio track down here by clicking on it. And so that's selected. And now I'm going to drag in our video, and I'm going to drag it down here, and I'm going to drop it right here on our new audio track, and just let go. And what that's going to do is it's going to just add the audio part of our original video into this video. There we go. And so now we have our audio back. Now you notice too that the audio is perfectly matched to the video here, and that's because we set our frame rate right. If we brought in those pictures and we set a different frame rate, what's going to happen is this that video part is going to be longer or shorter than the audio part, and that's why it's so critical to get that absolutely right. Now that we have both of our elements together here, our video and our audio, all we need to do is go to Export. And this time we're not going to do, of course, a picture export. We are actually going to export it out as like a video format, like maybe H24 here. We'll just go ahead and do, in fact, we'll do the high profile. And then we're just going to hit Export File. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to call this, well, it's automatically picked a good name, Video 1 Upscaled, or the name of our project. So I'm also going to hit Save, and it's going to create a new job up here, and it's going to process it through. And it's going to take just a minute here. I'll be back as soon as it's done. Alright, it's all done. Our little cogwheel has turned into a green checkbox, and we know that our project is complete. And of course, if you wanted to, you could save this project. But either way, I'm going to close down Shotcut. And now let's take a look at our folder out here. We have this new upscale video, and if we right click on it and we go to Properties and we go to Details, notice that we're high resolution here. We're still at 25 frames a second, which is just perfect. And if I play this, we have this highly upscaled video here as a result. So now we're going to go through it one more time, and we're going to go through it though with our little cartoon over here. So let's go ahead and open up Shotcut. We want to make sure that's set on automatic. We just give it some name, doesn't really make any difference what it is. And I'm going to hit Start. And then what we need to do is we need to drag in our video here down into the timeline. And it's going to create a new timeline track for us right here. And remember, we want to go to Properties. So right now it's on the Export tab here. We go to Properties here, and there is our frame rate. So let's come over here and put in our frame rate. It is 29.970030. Okay, and of course we don't know what our final resolution is quite yet, but we got our frame rate in there, so that's all we need for the moment. And now we want to export these out as individual frames. So let's go to the Export tab. Remember to scroll down till we got to stills. I'm going to do PNGs. I'm going to hit the export file. Make sure you're in the directory where you want to put the frames. I'm just going to call this frame again and hit save. And now it's going to export out all of our frames. This will take just a second. There we go. So all that's got the little green checkbox. Now we can just close down Shotcut. And we don't have to save that if we don't want to. And here are all of our frames. And if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have 1,553 frames, which, by the way, is the number of items here too, so they both match. And so that's the number of frames we're going to need to scale. So it's going to take a little bit longer because we have all of those frames. And again, AI upscaling, not a quick process. So let's go ahead and open up Upscayl. And make sure we have our batch upscale set. We're going to select our folder. We are going to select frames. We are going to change our style to digital art. Okay, so we got digital art selected. We're going to select our output folder, which is going to be scaled. And so hit select folder, and we are just going to hit upscale. Now this is going to take a while because remember we have to process about 1,500 frames. So right now it is 2:19, and so we'll come back whenever it's done and kind of get a guesstimate about how long it's going to take on my hardware. By the way, this is an NVIDIA GTX 1070, and it's running an AMD processor with I think 32 gigs of RAM. So it's a moderately beefy machine from several years ago, basically. Kind of a mid-grade machine, effectively, today. So let's go ahead and let this process, and we'll be back whenever it is done. Alrighty, we're all done, and the time is currently 2:27, which I could have made a little note over here. So the end time was 2:27. So if my feeble math skills are correct, that's about 8 minutes or so. So not too bad, actually. And we are all done, so we can close down the video upscaler there. Let's open up our folder and take a look. Here's our scaled images. And we have frame 1 all the way down to frame 1,553. And if we right-click and go to Properties, because remember we want to get our scaling on this, remember, this just does a standard 4x scaling, so our resulting video is 1288 by 960. And now we are ready to bring this into Shotcut and create our final video here. So let's go ahead and open up Shotcut. We are going to come in here. We're going to give it a name. This one I'm going to call this video 2 Upscaled. Now remember, we don't want to do automatic. We want to come down here to custom. We want to hit add, and we're going to plug in our numbers from our little notes over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paste in our frames per second. Then I'm going to plug in our video resolution. There we go. So we got all of our things set, and we'll just hit OK, and then we'll hit start. And again, it doesn't look like anything's happened because remember, we need to do our open file. We need to make sure we are in our scaled directory, pick our first frame, hit open. Doesn't really look like a whole lot's happened. It's kind of processing them through them right there. But remember, we need to go to the Properties tab, right? And click Image Sequence. And it says it's reloading the image sequence there, so we need to wait just a second for it to be done. And I should be done here, so let's just go ahead and I'm going to grab this with my left mouse button. I'm going to drag it down to our timeline. I'm going to drop it. There we go. And this should be our scaled video. So if we come over here and we scrub through a bit, oh, look at that. See, much cleaner than our original video right there. So now all we need to do is add the audio back. So again, I'm going to select our track over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to track operations, add audio track. So that creates one down here. Then I'm going to drag in our original video. That's just to get the audio out of it, basically. So we'll drag it down here. And again, I'm going to drop it right over here, this audio track, little header right here. And it's put in the audio, and look, it matches exactly, which means we've got our frame rate correct. And we can actually play our video right now. There we go, it's looking good. And of course, you just want to go to export, and then I'm going to do the H24 high profile, export file. Let's stick that out here, and I like the name, so we're just going to hit save, and it's going to process here. Of course, a little bit longer video, so this may take just a little bit longer. So we'll pause here, and I'll be back as soon as that's done. Okay, it's all done, so I'll go ahead and I'm going to save the project. I'm just going to close that down, and if we come back over here to our folders, we have our new Upscayl video. And just to kind of take a look here, let's go back to the original video and just give that a quick play. Pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. And here's the new Upscayl one. Much more sharpened, maybe overly sharpened there, but at least improved. Much cleaner. Extremely clean through there, so pretty good results here with the AI upscaling. Well, that's it. We've upscaled 2 videos, and I've showed you how to do it completely in free open source software that runs under Windows, Mac, and Linux. And as long as your graphics card supports Vulkan, you should be able to run this software. And by the way, just to kind of show you what we have running on this machine right now, this is a Windows 10 machine. It has an AMD 3700X processor. Now, it doesn't really use the processor that much, so it's really kind of irrelevant, actually. If we come over here to display, we have an old GTX 1070 running in here. I think it's got a slight overclock, but nothing substantial. So basically, that's it. So this is certainly not state-of-the-art hardware, but you could certainly get some video upscaling done, especially if you're patient. Again, these videos aren't very long. If you have a really long video, it's going to take hours. It could even take a day to process in the background. So you just have to be patient with AI video upscaling. So anyway, though, I wish you the best of luck, and let me know how everything goes for you, and I will talk to you all later.